He lives in
Okay, we're live
right
on
around the corner from me
YouTube.
also,
We're
man.
live on YouTube, Chris.
Okay,
Okay.
we're live on YouTube, everybody. We're live on
Okay.
YouTube.
Hey,
And
Okay.
Aaron,
Is that okay
Daniel,
with
is
you,
that good
Elaina?
right
go
there
hit
where you're at?
your VR settings mode
Okay,
and
lovely.
hit see it simulated
All
and
right.
hit reposition.
guys,
So let's
if you don't
come.
mind, if you guys want to talk, there's a huge area over here. You could probably go far
Okay.
enough away where we don't hear you.
We'll catch up
Yeah,
later.
don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Come on.
It's all right. We can't hear you. We can't
We'll
hear
just wait.
you. All right.
All right, here we are. So
Mhm.
if I load up the IFX,
Mm-hmm.
my media, I'm getting the hang of this a bit, Chris.
You
You
might
guys
want
got
to
a
turn
great
your mic
scene.
down. You might want to turn your mic down, Brian, quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Or yeah, there you go. Cool.
There we go. Okay, we're good.
All
Are you
right.
spatially recording? Shall I? I think I'm going to spatially
Yeah,
record
we can.
once.
Let's both do it just to play
Let's
it
do
safe.
it.
Mhm.
Recording, select everyone. There we go. Okay, we're live and we're recording. Oh, wait, I need to. Chris. Tribute. Okay, we're good. Okay, I want to come forward a little bit, everybody. Wonderful. There's Elaina. Thank you, Elaina. Some nice pictures you've got up here. Chris, thank you. We've got Brian. We've got Rael, Dr. Starr, David Bozatarnik. I am so glad you've made it, my friend. Wonderful to see you. Good to see you again, my friend. And we've got Bernard, Bertaru and Tim and Forbin. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for coming, everybody. Brian looks like he's got a mean sunburn there. All right. Okay, I think we're just going to start, if that's okay with everybody. As you know, we're in the middle of the 2020 Educators in VR International Summit, and this is a 6-day event that's going on across different platforms, and Engage has been an extra special partner in this venture. Just want to say a huge shout out to Chris and Mike and the whole Engage team. But today in particular, we're here to remember Chris Long. So I'm just going to bring my slides up. There we go. Okay. So you see that? There you go. So Chris Long, for those of you who don't know, I think actually, can you just show me your hands? I think everybody here knows who Chris Long is. That about right? Pretty much everybody. I think maybe one person not. Okay, we'll explain for you. That's all right. Chris Long, first and foremost, was Elena's husband, and he became a very, very dear friend. And we want to talk a little bit about him, about who he was and why he was so special to all of us here, and also talk a little bit about his legacy, because he was quite visionary and he was doing things that were, ahead of his time. And we feel that it's up to us to keep his legacy going a little bit. So I'd like to first talk about Chris Long as a VR pioneer. These pictures are taken by JW, I think. No, not JW. Jay, who was a colleague at the college that Chris worked at. And as you can see here, Chris is right at the forefront. He got involved with everything. I take it. Is that right, Elaina? He was good to go for everything, right, Chris?
Everything, yes.
Yeah, he would. I heard stories of him jumping up in the middle of the night, grabbing a laptop and racing across London to help you guys out with some crazy event. He was always up. He was a generous guy like that. And yeah, so I mean, Chris, do you want to say a couple of words about the work he did, as a VR pioneer and with you guys, please?
Yeah, you bet. So, I mean,
Yeah.
Chris, the most generous, the most kind, kind man I've known. I can't tell you how many people I've met in virtual reality that say that they were first brought into VR by Chris, that he introduced them to platforms like the Engage platform.
Yeah.
Just so kind and patient in his onboarding, and this vision that he had that, VR was going to change the world, the way we do education, the way we communicate. And he had this vision of connecting people from all around the world, connecting schools, connecting students to educators from all over the world. And he always talked about um, borderless classrooms. That's the term he threw around all of the time.
Yeah,
Um, and this really truly is that legacy. This is
this
why
is
we're
it.
doing what we're doing right now and why we're here at this
Absolutely.
educators conference.
Right.
Huge vision and just absolutely wonderful. His sense of humor was beyond anything. I mean, no matter what if things were stressful or whatever, he always had that sense of humor about him that would relieve that tension.
Right.
Just an amazing, amazing person.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Um, yeah. So he moved and touched a lot of people, including me. And I actually didn't know Chris for very long, but the short time I did spend with him, it moved me more than most people, actually. And I think, in particular, um, Chris was also an inspiration. In particular, an inspiration for this very event here. So. Um, Back in May, I think it was in May, Chris, or was it April, late April, early May, there was a conference with Lethbridge College and Mike McCready. And I know Chris Long was involved with that. He gave a lecture there. I think, Elaina, you remember that as well? He was talking with great passion about one of his projects. Chris and I hadn't spoken for a couple of months, and we were due to catch up. And so the evening before an event, we were running a diversity panel, and he was helping us in the background, pulling his connections and getting us speakers. And we finally caught up that night, and we were really both excited because we were waiting to kind of connect again and get this borderless classroom project finally off the ground. And we were talking about the borderless classroom network. We were talking about. He said, "So Daniel, when is the anniversary for the educators in VR?" I said, "Well, we had our first event in November." And he just said, "Listen, I have this vision, I have this idea. We should go really, really big. I'll help you. We'll work with cross platforms, all the different platforms." And I was a bit kind of like, "Okay, Chris, if you say so, I'll follow your lead, man." But let's do it. And so we agreed on that. And then the very next day, he was due to join us in the event, and he had passed away. And we were all absolutely heartbroken. I mean, even just thinking about it now
Hmm.
is not easy. But I think so. My son, my 11-year-old son, he never met Chris, but he said he heard me upset, obviously, and he said, "Daniel, you should have a memorial in VR." For Chris. And first reaction was, I don't know if that's a good idea. Maybe we'll talk to Steve, talk to Chris, and we actually did do it, and we'll be seeing some slides from that as well in a minute. But essentially, what Chris left us with something that I feel a deeper sense of responsibility to keep alive. And the two things he left us is the vision for the conference, which we're actually now at, which is just insane. If Chris could see this, he would love every second of this. He would be all over this.
Yes.
And the other thing that he left us was the Borderless Classroom Network project, which I'll be talking about a little bit later. But before we come on to that, so Chris, of course, was a VR pioneer. He was an inspiration, but he was also a friend. And I think, do we have Jay here? Um, is Jay here? Yeah, Jay, do you
Hey,
want to
Jay.
come? Hi, come join us, please, my friend.
Sure.
Lovely. Yeah, so Jay was a person who worked close with Chris at the college, and yeah, became friends and friends of the family. So, do you want to share a little bit with us about your friend Chris, Jay?
Sure. Thank you very much for the invite, Daniel. It's
Of
amazing.
course, of course.
So I'll just give you a little bit of background of how I first met Chris. So I first met Chris 2015 while I was volunteering at college, and I was there to share VR and AR technology with local schools and colleges. At the time, Chris was lecturing and also leading college's Genovation Lab. So after our initial meeting, Chris straight away saw the potential in the technology, and so began our journey researching how the tech can be used in the educational setting. We spent many months running VR workshops for all different departments in the college. Chris actually set up one of the first VR gaming courses there with his students. And some of his students actually still work with us and help out with demos and events. Over the years, we ran lots of workshops and events, sharing what we learned with other schools and colleges in the Thames Valley. We became close friends and had the chance to visit Osaka, Japan. So one of the photos you see there, that was actually, we were just having our break in Osaka. It was a Samsung lab that we came across. There's Chris in the middle, and I'm there on the left.
Yeah.
And it was just an amazing experience. He did a presentation there about the future of VR in educational technology. It was part of a Chamber of Commerce event, a trade mission.
Hmm.
I know Chris would have been so proud of what you guys have achieved here in this conference, and you'd
Thank you.
been so excited. So that's just amazing. And just finally, it was an honor to know him, and I
Yeah.
miss him so much.
Same, man. Same.
Rest in
Same.
friend. Yeah, thank you, Daniel.
Thank you. Okay. Let me just, sorry, I've got to change a battery controller there. So thank you very much, Jay, for that. Give me just a moment, if you will.
Daniel,
We're
do you
okay
mind
still.
if I know Brian wanted to
Please.
say a couple of words
Yes,
as
please.
well. Brian,
Please, Brian.
go ahead.
I think it's great being here today to celebrate his life. I didn't get to know him too long. About a year we got to hang out. I didn't get to join him on the corporate side, but I know he and I shared his vision for sure, and it's about the kids. He actually inspired me to start a company myself, with our goal being to bring education to kids that, although I wouldn't have much of a chance. I loved listening to his plans.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was always excited about it.
Always.
And it's kind of cool. We have this event here right
Yeah.
now. And just the other day, about a week ago, I ran into a high school in my local area here. And man, these kids they're kind of some troubled kids, kind of a troubled school, which I was one of those. But, oh, if I had the technology they had there, though, I'd have been in school for sure. They've got some amazing teachers that are teaching Unity and teaching how to build and all kinds of virtual reality stuff. They're preparing those kids to be successful in this new technology coming forward. And Chris would have been proud of them.
Yeah.
And so it kind of honors me to have at this time a group that I'm working with, just like what he always talked about. Another thing I love about Chris is, man, I know I've met a lot of virtuality enthusiasts, and I really know that they're enthusiasts when they can come here and teach and bring forth virtual reality to others and to people and try to help change mindsets. But then at night, he can jump in with a bunch of the rest of us and go out and play like a kid all night long and giggling, teasing, and laughing, and just enjoy the heck right out of virtual reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in those times, you know me, anybody knows me, I'm loud, and people always need to tell me kind of a little bit, right? Or mute sometimes. I get muted a lot. But anyways, one thing about Chris that I loved, I know he was a great husband. He cared so much about you.
Yeah.
Sorry. On several occasions, we'd be playing being loud, right? And Chris, he just get real quiet, and I couldn't understand this. And I said, Chris, why be quiet? This is great. And he said, because my wife and children are sleeping.
Oh,
I
man.
don't want to disturb them.
Yeah.
That's a real man.
Yeah.
Chris was a real man. And he told me many times how much he loved you.
Yeah.
And that really gave me a lot of respect for him. And you have to be one amazing lady for him to feel the way he did. And
Thank
I'm
you,
sorry
Brian.
for your loss. And
you.
Chris was a great person.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you, Brian. Thank you very much, Brian. Yeah, he moved a lot of people. Thank you very much, Brian, for that. I'll offer Mike if you want to say something. It's not expected, but if you'd like to.
I would guess I gotta be kind of quiet in here. With you.
It's up to you.
Yeah, I would say that I've never met anybody that was more excited about technology and showing that
Yeah.
to everybody else around him. And just everything that everybody's saying is exactly what I found with Chris. He's just like the best friend anybody could ever have, and I was just lucky enough to be a friend of his for a short period of time, and it's
Absolutely.
just terrible to lose him.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you very much, Mike. Appreciate it. Before we move on, Elaina, to hear some words from you, Chris. I know Steve Bambry would have loved to have been here, but he's actually flying in an airplane at the moment. And I said that we would spawn an airplane in the sky and we would all wave up to him. Can we do that quickly?
Are you ready? Are you ready for that? Should we give?
Okay.
Let's be honest. Chris was just in love with airplanes.
He
In fact,
was- he loved airplanes.
one of the things he was preparing to do was do some photo scans of these amazing airplanes before he passed away. And
Yeah.
of course, he was always the one flying around in the airplanes
Exactly.
and the chairs
Right.
for all that matter as well.
And
So
the chairs,
here,
yeah.
here we go, guys.
Here we go. Let's do this.
This one's for Chris.
This one's for Chris. Hold on
Yes.
tight, guys.
All right,
Mike.
hang on one moment.
hey, man. Good to see you here.
Hey, Brian,
Brian.
if you want to go ahead and mute yourself, dude, that would be great. Hey, yeah. Here we go.
Here we go.
Chris, you might have to restart engage. Do you want
might
to
have
make
to
me
restart.
co-host and I'll see if I can make it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me do that.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, wow. Oh,
here-
wow.
here we go.
Guys, look at this.
Look at behind you.
this. Elaina, to the side, to the back. That's amazing.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Thank you for that.
That was awesome.
That was brilliant. Thank you. That one's for Chris. Well done.
That's
Thank
for
you,
Chris.
Can we go back to the other slides? Do I have to bring them up again? Or?
You just hit your media, and you can bring that back up.
Okay, media, Chris
Mhm.
Long. There we go. Okay, so yeah, that was for Chris and also Steve Bambry, waving to Steve Bambry in the sky above us now. And now I'd like to invite Elaina to say a few words because as much as he was a pioneer and a friend, he was every bit of a family man, a husband and a father. So Elaina, if you want to say a few words, please.
Gosh, I think firstly, there's so much to say.
Yeah.
Probably as you all know, he had such a fulfilling life. He had so many stories to tell, and he could probably go on for hours and hours about all his adventures. And going back to the planes, I mean, I don't know if any of you know that he started off in the military, and he went out to Afghanistan, and then came back. When he came back, that was how he proposed. Truly officer and a gentleman style, which was amazing. He just swept me off my feet, having known him for a few years. And he was a gentleman. He was a true gentleman and a fantastic husband, fantastic father. To the extent that he came to a point in his life where he had to make the decision of whether he stays in the RAF or spends more time with his family, and he chose the latter, which really humbled me because he said he just wanted to spend more time with his son, who literally been born, and he just couldn't tear him away from the thought of being away from him. So that's how much he loved his kids. In that he decided to totally change his career. And he started off as a technician, and Chris being Chris, he just worked and worked and worked. And he knew that this was how he had to kind of support his family. He worked really hard at the college, and through working at the college, he realized that he had something in common with the students. Chris dropped out of college himself. He studied aerospace engineering and didn't finish the course, and he realized that what an impact that would have on his future in terms of he always felt that he needed to strive more and more to support his family. And it's something I'm very proud of, because he went from a technician to being head of the department at the college in a few years, and he made such an impact on the college, and then went into the technology and engineering side of things, which is where he found his niche, and he could share with the students not only his experiences and his knowledge, but also the fact that he'd come from a similar background. A lot of the students were dropped out of school. He mentored them, he was a friend to them, and he encouraged them. And I think that's where he then decided this was his passion, that he wanted to move forward with education and basically pick up those that had fallen. And he was an angel like that. And literally, he just, anyone that came to him, he would embrace and have time for them. And I think with all the experiences that he's had through the military and learning to adapt and overcome, to not be afraid of technology, is why he was able to move forwards with virtual reality, because I think he just wasn't afraid. He wasn't afraid of anything. And that's how, he was able to see and have this vision, and sort of share this meaning that, education is for everyone, and seeing that he himself could do it, and he proved to his kids he could do it. To our son, who had few learning difficulties, he was able to literally turn him around and spend time with him. And he was one that would just, not believe in any kind of limitation on anyone's learning. I think also he was massively into creativity, and as probably some of you know, he just found something creative in anything. He was really good at, wanting to make the education fun, from bringing in fairground horses to a roller coaster car he would want to adapt, or he would go to an old aeroplane wreck yard and try and rip out all the pieces to try and make education fun. So he'd bring back like seats from aeroplanes and the whole inside in his van and say, right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this an experience. And so hence why he then went into the Lancaster bomber experience. And that was then literally, I think, his springboard into doing what he did so well. So
Thank you.
and I just want to say one other thing is that Chris was a people person, obviously, but it was his. I think he was the glue, literally, for this event, and bringing everyone together. And I think Daniel's literally continued that, which is what Chris would have wanted. So thank you so much. Thank you for pushing this event forward, for literally living Chris's dream and making it happen.
Thank you very much, Elaina. Thank you.
And thank you for everyone coming here today and sharing like-minded interest. Thank you.
Oh, Elaina, thank you so much. Okay, so we've heard a lot about Chris, about him as a pioneer in his work, his friends, and a family man. And like you heard, he tragically passed away, and we have a video of that event here a little bit, which I'd like to play for you. I find it very moving. So just yeah, we'll watch it. It's about 2 or 3 minutes long. This one's for Chris. Oh, all right. Take a few minutes. Oh. So I think that was necessary to watch and acknowledge, and I know it's not easy to see it, and I don't want to end on that note either. I actually want to move on to say that we will remember, and we're working on his dream, we're working on his vision as we're all here now, and so that's his plaque that somebody made, and actually it's standing next to Chris Madsen over here, so that's pretty much a permanent asset in this space, and
I like it.
so yeah, we have this was a picture from his tribute where we all got together in May, and it wasn't the only one. This is how much he moved people. There was another one on the I'm not sure why I'm seeing that now. Sorry, I'm just gonna check something here.
Just highlighted.
There you go. Yeah. Um, so there was actually two memorials, and then of course the funeral. So he he was a pioneer even when he passed on, and we want to keep it that way. We want to keep his vision that way. We got two things I want to tell you about a little bit, if you'll bear with me for a moment. So we've mentioned this borderless classroom network. This was his idea. When I first met him, that's how I met him. He was talking about the borderless classroom and his idea of a classroom that has technology, this technology, and teachers in it has no more borders. There's nowhere you can't go, nothing you can't do. And so it's a borderless classroom. That was his name. And we were working on a project where we would find a college down in Slough and one maybe in the south of Wales and one up here in Wales, and we would connect them and we would have shared lessons for different students, as in particular NEET students, so kids who are struggling a bit around the place, maybe in rural areas or less well-off areas. and we were close to doing that. And his idea was that we would get the industry together, we would get industry partners together to sponsor it with their, corporate social responsibility funds or whatever fund we could get our hands on. We would get money to get equipment to people who needed it, and then we would deliver learning experiences across time and space, and we would get the best educators in here to teach people and kids and communities who really need it. That's the vision. And so the borderless classroom, we're carrying that forward here on Engage and different platforms. But I'm in the process of creating an expression of interest for any educators, any classrooms, any schools who might be interested in this project to express their interest. So we get a database of schools that would like to be part of it. And then we want to build a global network of schools that can freely connect and choose which other classrooms they want to connect with. And we will make that platform available. And to this end, we're going to get we're going to get a prototype running with Chris. We're going to get the expression of interest and a long list of schools, because I feel that there's going to be a lot of schools and educators interested in this. Yep. Then we're going to approach the industry partners whose attention we now have. I mean, HTC Vive, Microsoft, GigXR, Pearson, all these companies, they're watching us as we speak. So with that, with that kind of attention capital, we want to approach them and say, listen, we need to make this happen. So expect some news on that before the summer, definitely. I want to push hard on that. And then I want to come on to the second legacy we want to keep alive for Chris Long, and this is the Chris Long Fund. So we're in the process of setting up a Chris Long Fund with kind of two aims. In particular, one aim to fund the Borderless Classroom Network, so it will allow us to reach out to communities and maybe sponsor them with equipment or get them, data streaming infrastructure that they need, those kind of things. And possibly also we'll talk it through with Elaina if some of that can help support, the kids, his kids as they grow up as well. Make sure that they can stay in the loop with what their dad had dreamt of all that time. So thank you for listening so far. I'm really moved still by the fact that we're doing this, that we're here, and I just want to thank Chris. Chris, thank you, man. Thank you for touching us, for moving us, for giving us this. And we mean to do you proud, my friend. We mean to do you proud, and let's meet again in another year, and see where we're at with the Borderless Classroom Network. Okay. And if anybody, thank you very much. If anybody else has anything to say, now's the time, please. Okay. Anyone else?
I think it's great everybody came to celebrate his life. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Coming. Great.
How about
great
we do
guy
a
to
group
this
hug,
for.
guys? Group hug. We're all together. Group hug. Come on, bring it in. Bring it in. Elaina, you okay with this? Let's wait for Elaina here. There we go. Lovely. Come on in, everyone. Group hug. Feel the love. All right.
I love being part of this thing.
Yeah, amazing community,
Chris
guys.
Long, keep his life, keep his legacy going. Right.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Okay. Elaina, thank you so much. And Chris, thank you. Jay, thank you. Mike, thank you. Everybody who came. Thank you very much. And if you're hopping out now, that's fine. Enjoy the rest of the conference. And yeah, just keep doing the good work. We're missionaries for Chris. Go take the work out there, spread his word, okay?
Thank you,
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Dan.
All right. See you
Let's
soon.
go, Mike. Hey, brother.
See you soon.
Hey.
All right.
It's great. Oh,
You
Rex.
all right, Elaina?
Rex.
Yes, thank you.
Good to see you. I'm glad. Thanks for coming.
Oh, look,
Rex,
here
man.
they come
It
again.
means a lot
Here
to
they
me,
come
man.
again.
Hey, Mike.
Come again.
This is my friend. Oh, let's look.
Fantastic.
He's the man. Rex a man too. He just moved down to
Is that okay for you, Elaina? It was
Turkey.
really important
Set up
to
workhouse
me.
in Turkey
Yeah.
with his
Oh, wow.
four-month-old baby and wife. Right. on the
wow,
coast
that's-
down
Yeah.
there. Right.
Okay.
Where?
Okay. Good. I'm glad.
What's that?
I'm glad.
Where'd you move
Good to
from?
see you.
I'm gonna
man.
have to go
my
now,
God,
Elaina,
right
because of
down
the
the
rest
street
of
from our house.
the conference.
Live
But we'll
next
be in
door.
touch soon. Okay.
Just like Turkey, right down the street from your house, you know?
All right. Much love and say hi to the kids. Okay.
Quite a ways away. It's been a vacation town.
Bye. Thank
Not
you.
too many
All right.
Americans come down here because it's
See you, Elena.
a flight. But all
Thank
of
you.
Europe
Yeah.
loves this place.
Yeah.
It's called Antalya.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks
Yeah,
for all
well,
the
what's the
help
weather
and
like
getting us
there?
the photos and everything. It's
The
awesome.
weather is
Thanks for coming.
no snow, and then
Oh.
in the summer it gets really
Thanks for
hot.
coming, David, man.
Mm.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Much appreciated, man.
Yeah, cool.
All right.
Hey, Rael, come here.
Tourism and stuff.
Come
So
here,
I
Mike.
thought
Thank you, Dr. Starr, for coming. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'd go and invest
Yeah,
and
no, not a problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
live
Right.
for a while.
See you soon, all right?
We're gonna
Means a lot.
We're gonna
You're
bring
right.
Engage Turkey because they got a bunch of people coming down for the resorts.
Nice
in
one,
the-
Chris.
We're gonna create
Hey,
something
thanks,
Engage
Daniel.
here.
That was
Yeah.
awesome.
This
That's
is my
amazing.
biggest build.
Thank
This
you.
is my biggest builder right here. Rael.
Hey, I got something.
Mike.
You
Mike.
want something to
Yeah.
show you? I got something to show you.
He's my youngest
I don't
and the
know if you've
best.
seen This one.
This kid.
We
is
should
on.
take a
Go on.
picture for
Right.
Steve.
I thought I
Here,
noticed
let's do it.
resemblance.
Let's do it over
Let's
here.
do it.
Right,
Okay,
right.
go.
well, it's not the red for sure.
All right, let's do it right here. Yeah.
Thanks, Rael, for coming.
Shall I take a picture? Is that what you're saying?
We'll take a picture for Steve. You
Yeah.
know, I was trying to find
Okay.
something with Steve in it because
Yeah.
he's not
Yeah,
Nice
here.
to meet.
So
Yeah.
let me hang
Yeah.
on one sec.
Dave,
Hey, yeah.
how you doing, man? Hi.
See you,
Hey,
man.
Dave,
Was that?
Dave, meet
Are you a
Aaron.
doctor?
Aaron.
I'm not a doctor,
Aaron.
but I am a doctor.
Chris once mentioned to me
Let me
when he
introduce
had the
you to Dave real
horses.
quick. Dave, this is
Yes,
from my
yes.
Aaron. Aaron, Dave's been around for a while.
They're
He's
still in
been
his shed. I was there yesterday.
Hello, Dave.
everything all the time.
I'd
It's
love
great to have
to
around.
kind of do something with them.
Right.
Get something.
And this is Rex. This is
I
Rex.
know.
Both these guys are doing stuff with me now, so
Oh,
they're,
keep
they're
that going.
part of the
The
team, man.
horses,
So,
you know, that was the big
Yeah.
thing, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
this is
remember
we're
that.
here for Chris, man.
I mean, I remember him
You
mentioning
know him
that.
very
So,
well.
oh no, I've got jumpy hands. I'm hoping my avatar hands are all going to stay in the right place.
All
when I
right.
need to.
Hop on down here, guys.
What?
Guys, let's
What?
do like look through the letters at that where the Chris is
Oh,
going to be
yeah,
kind of where
yeah.
the camera
Let's talk
is.
about that sometime.
Rael, you
Yeah.
You guys stand up against
One
the
second.
side.
Mhm.
You're on.
Holding hands. Hold on.
Here we go, right there.
Oh my goodness.
That is
You remember this, Mike? You remember this?
Yes. Yes.
that is awesome. All right, let's go catch up with them now because they're showing some good stuff, man. Where there you go. All right.
Oh, wow. Oh, man.
Okay. Okay.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Mhm. If Engage has taught me anything, it is if you're not having fun learning, you're not doing it right, man. That's for sure.
There we go.
Hey, that was awesome.
Hmm.
Wow.
Okay, look at that. Okay, come on, man. Okay, that's the mic. That's the Chris I remember right there, man. I mean, come on.
Yeah. With his pants on fire, that's amazing.
Right. Well, it's perfect because Mike's the same way, man. You know it's true.
Oh, man.
Brilliant.
That is too cool.
Absolutely
Too cool.
brilliant.
Wow.
Superb.
Hmm.
They're probably just killing the
Oh,
whole time.
man. Oh, man. That's quite something.
I love it. Except, from this angle right here, it looks to me like he's could be hurting right there with that stick up his behind.
It's pretty-
I love the bats.
Right.
Amazing.
Right.
Let's bring him
Absolutely
down.
amazing.
Hey,
Yeah.
you met Rael, right?
Oh, man.
Oh, of course you met Rael. He's the one that taught you. He is bumping up his building of
Oh, man.
spaceships and stuff. By the way, he's moved to a new level.
Oh.
I'm still waiting for
What?
flying
Mhm.
around the body.
Oh.
I'm having a hard time hearing you. For some reason, the audio's very static.
Oh, it's the bats making the sound. I see.
Is that what that is?
The bats.
Yeah, it's the bats. Yeah, I was trying to figure out what the sound was. Thought it was an airplane misfiring.
What is that? Okay, I thought it was a dead bed on the ground over there for a second. There's
That's
a
a
mouse.
dragon.
Okay, is there a mouse in the? There's a mouse right there. Look at that. Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, it was a dinosaur.
Super.
How come Mike's always in the hot seats? What I want to know.
Yes.
Through the letters at that where the Chris is
Oh,
going to be
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
where the camera is. Yeah.
Oh, you started again.
All right, 1 second.
I love that little
So
gif
cool.
on the front, man. That's so cool.
Something hands, hold on.
There we go. That's a good shot of him. Right there he is. That's the mouth right there.
That's the mouth. Oh, actually, it is the mouth, man.
You know what I mean?